Hi everyone, it's Gail. I'm here with a different kind of a video today. This was actually a viewer request, and so this video is for you, Sharon. Sharon asked me about crafting while watching TV with her husband, and I have a little experience in this area. So I thought I'd put together kind of a run through of all the different things that I take to the couch with me and craft on while I'm watching TV with my husband. So this is by no means an exhaustive list. There's lots of other things you could do, but it might give you some ideas on how to set up and what you need to grab and that kind of thing. So let's get started. The first thing on my list is fabric flips and little clusters. Super easy. So these are some fabric flips that I actually did watching TV the last little while. 3 to 5 pieces of fabric put together. I'm going to show you how I set up at the TV to do these, but there's those. Then I wanted to show you these are, I would say, done because they've got a little embellishment on them, and then we'll get to those in a minute. But what I do is I take these 2 items to the TV along with a pair of scissors. That's it. 3 little items. So these sit beside me on the couch, and I just grab a piece of fabric. Let's grab this one because it's a good size. I give it a little clip just to make it the size that I want. And then I pull off any strings. I have a little table next to my chair by the TV, and I just make a pile of all the little threads on my end table. And then I'll pick through a few things and see what else I might have to go with this. I see kind of a fun piece right here. And what is this piece? This piece would go too. So I just kind of pick through my scraps here and just kind of on my lap. I mean, this is sitting next to me, and so on my lap I would just kind of lay that on my leg and go, okay, that'll work. I'm going to use that and just give it a little rip. And of course, I can watch what's going on in the show as I'm doing this. And then I think we'll go this way because I kind of want some of that red there. Pulling the strings, just getting all the strings off like so. And then maybe we'll just grab a little piece of this sari silk and put it across the top like that. Okay, so I've used my little bin of fabrics. I've used my little bucket of or little pouch, I guess, of trims and things. And then the other thing besides the scissors that I would have is this little box of paper clips. And then I'm just going to take this and paper clip it. So easy peasy. You have 4 things that you're taking to the couch with you: your scissors, your paper clips, some trims, and some fabric scraps, right? So I ended up the other night with this big stack, and I was just doing them as I was watching TV and just putting fabrics together. These have 4. This one has a little piece of a doily, but they're all just paper clipped. Then the next day or whenever I have time, I then take them to the sewing machine and sew them all together. And I sew them one right after the other. I'll sew this one in without even taking it off. I'll feed this one into the machine, and then this one, and it goes super quick. So So there you go there. And then later on, when I'm actually making the book, or when I want to make some kind of ahead of time, I'll go ahead and add some flowers, or this one has a little embellishment here. So that kind of finishes them off. And then the other thing you can do similarly is these little hanging fabric flips, I guess you could call them. And I use more lace in these, more lace and doily and stuff, and then use a ribbon crimp at the top. But you could do those the same way. Just put your pieces together, paper clip them, and then finish them off when you're in your craft room the next day. So that would be the fabric flips, and then I would call this a fabric cluster. So that's the first thing. That's the first thing. I am going to slide these over. I have everything lined up on my other table, so I could just go from one project to the next. So that's the first project. I'm going to put these by my sewing machine because that's going to come later today. And we'll just pick these up and set them aside. Okay, so then the next project would be actually a fairly similar one, except we're working with paper. So this time we're going to do either paper clusters, which here's some examples of paper clusters. Like that. Here's one that hasn't been embellished at all. Yeah, so paper clusters. That's one idea. The another one is the scrappy embellishments, which are these. And I've kind of lumped these together in the same category because you need the same supplies to do this. So these are scrappy embellishments. Just pieces of paper, maybe a little fabric if you want to, but if you've just got your paper with you, that's fine too. So those are scrappy embellishments. And then, of course, there's also altered paper clips. So, like such. Here's one that one of my granddaughters actually did. But you need the same supplies, so essentially, for those three projects. So those are three that you can do. What you need is your bag of scraps, of paper scraps. You need your paper clips, because that's what we're going to do with the clusters. Or, I'm sorry, with the scrappy embellishments, because we'll sew those later. And then I have a Tim Holtz tiny attacher or any stapler for your clusters. So really there's a little difference. There's not a lot of difference. So let's make one of each. Let's make a cluster. And all that you do with a cluster is to grab some pieces of paper, kind of stack them up so that they're pleasing to your eye, and then you give them one staple. And so that's kind of the challenge, is to pop them on there so that, oh, look at these, I have these fun squares that I got in Happy Meal. Let's use one of those for a little texture. So if I put that there, pull this down, pull that up. I think I'll put this one this way so the stamp shows. And actually, I think I'm going to call that good. And so then I just take my stapler, staple where all the papers meet, and then I can go back and put a flower or a butterfly or something on this to finish it off. But while I'm sitting and watching TV, I can make a boatload of these and have them all ready to embellish later. So that's that one. The difference really with a scrappy embellishment, I feel, is just that it's torn. I mean, this is my tiny rectangles bag, and so those are kind of squared off and ready to go for a cluster. But then other papers that are just kind of torn and or irregular in some way, whatever, those are better as scrappy embellishments. And so this is just my smaller bag of tricks here as far as scraps go. And I'm just tearing the edges to make them uneven. Looking in my bag to see what else I have. Got this little piece of a map that's kind of interesting. I'm making a very tiny one, but you'll get the idea. So maybe we go something like that. I kind of feel like I need a little something else. I don't know. I want to pop a color. Oh, look at this. I have a little tag. Doesn't have to be torn. It could be like this. And then I'm just going to take an paper clip and clip them. And then once again, just like the fabric ones, we'll take these the next day or whatever, take it to the sewing machine, just run them through one after the other as you make them. So that's the clusters. And of course the altered paper clips, you either need tickets or a piece of paper, one or the other. I'm going to use just some of, yeah, those are, oh, here, I have these. Ah, there goes the ticket box. It was so organized too. That's all right. But we'll take a couple of these tickets. And maybe you have the tickets made up in advance, or the bases. I would call it the base of the altered paper clip. And maybe you have those made up in advance too. That's a good way to do it. But you take your tickets, you take a large paper clip. I have one down here. And then you put the paper clip. You put the paper clip over the top like so, and then you're going to glue it. So I would do this part beforehand. I would not while I'm watching TV, because I don't want to use my Fabri-Tac when I'm watching TV. It's too messy. And you kind of make sure that you go over the paper clip a little bit, and then you fold it up. Like so. And then once that dries, you're gonna have your base. I have a bunch made up. I have a little baggie of these that are just tickets made up like this. The other thing you can use, I don't know if I have a good example. This is too thin and too small really, but you could use scraps of paper too, and just clip it over if you don't have tickets or you don't want to use your tickets for this. But yeah, so then I've got that. So then while I'm sitting watching TV, I can look at my scraps and find maybe a little base for this. This is nice. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? And if you want, you could have your corner rounder, but you don't have to. Really, all you need are the base like this and your scraps. And again, what I would do is just clip them on, whatever you kind of come up with. Go ahead and paper clip them on, and then you can do your gluing and stuff afterwards, you know, in your craft room, or you can take your glue. And I'm going to show you a setup that I use for things that are a little more messy. When I have my fabrics or the paper, I just have them sitting by me on the couch, and I don't have a work surface per se. So we'll get to that in a minute too. But anyway, so I've kind of got my base, and you know, you can just add thises and that's to it. I don't know, whatever. And then give it a paper clip, and then you're done. And then you can glue it later. Or like I say, we'll show you a setup to glue as you go. So that's it with the paper. So we've got the clusters like so that we're going to clip, that we're going to staple. We've got scrappy embellishments to paper clip, and we've got these little altered paper clips as well. So 3 different paper projects really that you can take and have in front of the TV. Okay, so let's clean this up, kind of stack these over here so that we can get on to the next project. I'm just gonna pop those over here. Okay, so the next project, the next thing I wanted to say is, as far as to kind of keep with the fabric and paper, the other thing you can do while you're watching TV is organize your scraps. I organized this scrap bin while I was watching TV with my husband. I have strips of fabric in the front. I have tiny pieces here. I have pieces that would actually kind of be ready for a scrappy embellishment next here. These are a good size to just be the first piece of a fabric collage or a flip. And then bigger pieces of fabric that are odd shaped here. And then I've got some large ones that would make good fabric flips. I've got some quilted material, and then really large ones that would need to be cut down. So I organized that. And I showed you this bag, which has these separately, these little fabric pieces. I've got tiny rectangles in this bag. And what is this bag? And this is ones that I thought would be good bases for clusters. And then these are just random scraps here. So you can sit and organize your scraps as well when you're watching TV. So that was just another idea with those. Okay, so then on to my table that I use. This grungy, awful tray from Mary Englebright is my workspace when I'm watching TV. If I need to, need a table of sorts. I don't have any, if you have a TV tray or something, that's great, but I don't have any of those. So I use this tray on my lap. So one of the things that I do while I'm watching TV is to get ready these. My Etsy orders, I make these little things to put on my journals that I complete. As you can see, I have a whole bunch of them made, and I do those with this stamp and with this. Oh, if I can reach it, yeah. With this punch. So I have the punch and the stamp in the ink pad. I also do my thank yous. Normally I use this punch, and then here's my thank you stamp, and then I just grab my folder. I'll show you the whole folder here. Ugh. I have this huge folder of cardstock scraps, and I just grab ones that will work for for my particular ones. Let's see, this one will work sideways, won't it? So I just pop out a bunch of these, and maybe we're better off doing a circle here. And I'll just do a bunch of punching up front. I'll just punch out a bunch of scraps, and then once those are done, I'll give them a little stamp here. And I can do all of this on my lap, of course. So I just do this. Well, I was off kilter on that one. That one's a throwaway, but you get the idea. And these, I put the thank you right in the middle. And, you know, while watching a TV show, I can do hundreds of these. Then I also have my distress ink. So this is what I would have on my tray. My stamps, my stamp pad, my distress ink, and then I'd have the cardstock scraps sitting next to me on the couch. And then once I punch them all out at once, I stamp them all out at once, and then I distress the edges all at once. So I kind of do a little assembly line. But then it's so nice to have these made up prior to getting the Etsy orders, because it just, you know, you're fulfilling the Etsy orders and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to take time to make the little signs. But then I'm all done. And of course this one, had I got it in the middle, I would distress around that too. So there you go. So that and I guess my point is with this is it doesn't have to be your Etsy type things. It can be, you know, stamping tags or whatever. But as long as you have, you know, your little work surface, you're good to go with that. Okay, so stamping is something that you can do while you're watching TV with your husband. Now, I'm just going to clear this out for the next project. We're going to go ahead and throw that away. All right, so then the next project that can be done on your little lap tray or a coffee or a TV tray or whatever is, ta-da, your glue book. So really, with your glue book and a glue stick, you can work on this. What I would do is have my images kind of in a little, I have them in a notebook, and I would have that sitting next to me. But I have a few images here that I just kind of wanted to put in. So, you know, you can do that. You can pop things in. I also have a supply here again of washi tapes that I want to add to my book. So I'll find my washi tape page, which is right here, and I've got my glue stick. I can just add some things to my glue book while watching TV. And you know, generally when you're watching TV, you're not talking, so it's not like the hubby is going to, or the family is going to interrupt the creative things that are happening in your mind. You can just be gluing and in your own little creative world, especially if they're watching something you're not interested in. Oh, but yeah, the glue book is a great option for in front of the TV. I think it's just something that, you know, you've got whatever images are speaking to you, and you know, it doesn't take a whole bunch of concentration or, you know, focus or whatever. You can just pop things down. Of course, if you're going to do a collage that's going to take, that is going to take some creative thinking or whatever, then you may not want to do it while you're watching TV. But anyway, you get the idea. Just sit and add fun things to your glue book. So that's another option. And let's see. Okay, I'm just making sure I got everything on my list that I wanted to tell you. One more thing, one more project. And I use my tray for these. I am going to move it because I have other things to show you along with this, but I love to spend time doodling on my painted papers when I'm watching TV too. So I have this bag of markers that I got this bag at Hobby Lobby. It's just I don't know, in the crafting area, and it works perfectly for this. I have color books and things in here. I don't really use color books much, so those are there. But in the front of my color books, I have my painty papers that I haven't doodled on. So let's see. I'm going to figure out how I can show you this properly. Ugh. Yeah, my pen bag is heavy. I love having that pen bag though, because if we're going to my sons or daughters or something, it's easy to pop in the car and then I just have it to do. So these are some of the painty papers that need more work. Like for instance, this one's like half done. You can see there's doodling in some of the spaces, but there's more to be done there. This one too. I think I just did whatever was striking me on those. And I do have a video on painted papers, and it should be under the tutorial playlist on my channel. So maybe that'll be helpful to you. But I would just have this on my tray, and I would just be grabbing out, I don't know what, one of my pens, and I just sit there and maybe I'd outline that. I don't care for that. That doesn't show enough. So maybe we'll just use black. Maybe the black will show better. Oh yeah. And I would just doodle. I would just maybe go around all of these little spots like that. I might then take a white pen, which, oh, my white pen is actually over here on my table because I was using it for something. I think I might like a white pen on these. I don't know if I want to go around the edges. Maybe. And I'll tell you, this doodling while watching TV is super, super relaxing. It's just, it's just, you're just doodling away. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is what I usually do is I usually do whatever I'm doing here. That doesn't want to write very good. Anyway, that's an example of just doodling on your paper and outlining things, whatever. I also like to do whatever I'm doing. I kind of like to do it for maybe the first half of our TV watching at night. That's so interesting. The paint's coming right off. It's because I was pressing too hard, I think. Anyway, I usually do whatever I'm doing the first couple of episodes if we're watching Netflix or whatever. But then partway through the evening, I just stopped because it's like, you know, that's enough. And then I just kind of zone out for a little while. So anyway, just doodling on the painted pages is a fun little activity. I just thought of one more that I didn't write down, so I'm going to show you that real quick. And that is, let's see, I don't know, I think the ones I have made up are across the room, so I won't worry about it. But Lori Fusco came up with the funnest little embellishment, and this is super easy to do while you're watching TV too. And that is to make some tiny envelopes. So I've got my coffee dyed strip. This is just a strip left over from doing a traveler's notebook. I'm just going to fold that into the middle, fold that here, and fold up there and make this tiny envelope. And then let me see if I have some that are smaller that we could use, because what's fun then is to layer them up. So let's use this piece of paper. I'm not sure where I want to cut it, so, but this is a pretty thin strip, but yet you can still make these really cute little envelopes. Maybe we'll cut it right about there and fold it up under the flap, and you've got a little envelope there. And then you could put 3 of them together, and it's really cute on an embellishment. You can stamp on them, which you could do on your tray on your lap. You can stamp on them, and then just layer them up. And if you have some glue with you, you can glue them on. This one's a little crunchy. It's not the best, but once I glue that, it's going to be just fine. And so then maybe you put them together in some sort of fashion that makes you happy. Like maybe like this. And then you can put a little lace behind them. You can put some eyelash trim or something and stick them on a glassing bag or an envelope or something. They're really cute little embellishments. And the ones I made a ton of them while I was watching TV. So let me just unfold this so you can see again. It's just folding those in and down for the flap, and then folding up like that. So that's another TV pastime. So I think I've about covered it. There's probably more, but these are the ones that I have spent time doing, at least recently. So I hope this was helpful to you, and let me know in the comments below. And I sure appreciate you watching, and thank you, Sharon, for the suggestion. I think it was a great one, you know, because we all sometimes, and especially if we're working, we don't have time to craft during the day. Then, you know, TV time is when we can do it. And, you know, and all of these activities, they get that out. You know, you need to express your creativity. It's important. So I hope it helps, and we will just see you in the next video. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.